How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Liberty Hour here, streaming through Spreaker Studio and the A2 Jack YouTube channel. I'm back here with Aleeyah and Kasey. I was just talking a little bit with Kasey about her new job. I talked a little bit to Aleeyah earlier. Me and a few people went over to Top Golf for the night, but I was talking to Aleeyah earlier, and I know that you have a job at Jamba now where you are officially starting and making the drinks and everything, but I understand that you're trying to work somewhere else. So explain to me a little bit about what you do like about Jamba and what you don't like about it, and then where you're
Oh
trying to
boy.
get another job.
Okay, I won't expose anyone. No, I don't know. Jumping is fun, and it's like I've always loved it, and it makes me feel healthy, and I know how to make a whole bunch of stuff at home now, so that's cool. But I just feel like personally, I just feel like since I didn't go to school, I always believed that I couldn't get like better jobs, like everything was entry level. So I kind of like sub myself down to that kind of standard. And I don't know, I just feel like I can be doing better. And just this morning, actually, I went to an interview just to volunteer, but I'm now becoming a teacher at a school, which is really nice. And so I start next week, but it's volunteer. So maybe I'm thinking of getting a job in like actual job also at a school or at like a senior home because I feel like I do better in social like social
Areas.
opportunities, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What would it be that you would be doing with your volunteer work at the school? What would it be that you would be doing there?
So I'm actually working in a fourth and fifth grade classroom, and it's actually at my church. So it's a lot more of about like the Bible and stuff. So I'll be actually like doing activities with them and running the class and teaching them about things. And
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, it's really cool. And I also get to do a little bit of counselor stuff with them, which is really nice. So
Cool. Well, good luck with that. Hopefully that goes well
thank
for
you.
you. Awesome. All right. Well, that mainly covers all the work stuff, and now we're going to go ahead and actually get into some issues for you guys. The first thing I actually wanted to talk about, and Aleeyah, I know that about a week ago or so, you said that you're going to be taking a little bit of a break from Instagram and social media, and a lot of
Oh, heck
people I
yeah.
know, there's a lot of people I know that I've seen that I watch online that have done this, and a lot of other people that I know that have taken breaks too. I've only ever taken one break really, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about social media for a second. Obviously, social media very huge in all of our lives. Almost everybody that you'll know will have at least either a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat account. Many people have at least two or three of those four. And I just wanted to go ahead and start, by getting your guys' thoughts, and I'll go ahead and start with you, Aleeyah. Do you feel that social media is more beneficial or detrimental for young people, and then why or why not?
I kind of it's I see both sides, so I can't really say one or the other because I feel like it is a cool way, especially because me growing up in a military family, it was nice because I had friends all over the country, so like I could keep up with them, which I think is cool, and I think you can use it for good. But I feel like it's also bad because, of course, a lot of people compare their lives with everybody else's. That's like a main thing. And also, there's some creepy people on there. But most importantly, I feel like everyone's growing up with so much technology that it's like a normal thing now. My little sister's 10 and she has a Snapchat and an Instagram and she has a YouTube channel. And it's sad because you can take away like toys from kids and they don't care. But if you take their phone away, it becomes like this big deal. Like they feel like they can't live without it. And I think that's where it gets a little dangerous,
Gotcha,
personally.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Before I go over a couple of my thoughts on this, let me go ahead and bring you in, Kasey. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's more of a benefit? Do you think it's more detrimental? Like, explain what your thoughts are on that.
Um, Kind of like Aleeyah, I can see both sides of it being detrimental and beneficial, but for me, I lean towards more of the detrimental side. I have a lot of like little cousins and stuff, and they're all on the social media apps too, like like Snapchat and of course like Musically and like Instagram, and they love it. It's just that whenever I see them, they're on their phones all the time. Like I don't know any time where I see any of my younger relatives, not on a phone. And it's kind of sad to me. I mean, growing up, I was always outside, and on the playground, and stuff. And I don't think I got into social media until I was about like in seventh grade. But I definitely feel like if I could have chose to like not get in the habit of being on it, like as a kid, like I wouldn't, because like now I use it, and when I do, like I make sure I'm really careful about it, because we all do that thing where we're not doing anything and we'll just like kind of scroll through stuff without thinking about it. Yeah, like the subconscious scrolling, and then you're scrolling for like 30 minutes, then you're like, oh, like what am I doing? And it's kind of been hard to get out of the habit of doing that. And I do take breaks myself. So I think like last year I actually took a break for a couple months, and I didn't even delete the apps. I deleted all my accounts. So a lot of my stuff is like new again, but I do believe personally that it's more detrimental. You just have to be careful with how and why you're using it, because I think if you're just using it to pass time, that's not good. But I think it should be used for keeping in touch with people, and not for trying to impress everyone with going on in your life.
Right. Can I add something really quick?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so one thing that I'm really noticing, and I think social media is like one of the main causes of it, is I don't know how many times I've seen people show everyone knows everything about everything because of social media. Everyone knows what you're doing, and it's come to the point where even like when I worked at Sky Zone, there'd be people there and they just record everything but then do nothing. Like they made it look like they're having this great time, and they're like, oh, like do this or do this, and they were all excited, and as soon as the camera was off and they posted it, they would just sit there and do nothing the whole time. And I think that's like one of the most like dangerous parts of social media, is that we feel like we have to like maintain an image for everyone. It's like fake. I don't know.
I agree with that. I see that all the time too.
Ricky says, "Amen, Kasey, amen." And then he brings up another comment where back in the day, me and Ricky, because you mentioned 7th grade, they had like roller hockey games at Glen Edwards. We would always go watch a roller hockey game, go grab McChickens after, and play some basketball. That was always what we did, and that was pretty fun. It's funny you actually mentioned 7th grade is when you got a phone or started actually using social media, because when I got my first phone, which was a flip phone for many people that know me, that I had one for quite some time. That was what I got, when I was 12, and I didn't actually have a actual smartphone, or not smartphone, but iPod Touch. I actually got an iPod Touch in 8th grade, so it wasn't until then until I got an actual iPod Touch, and then I got a phone, and an actual phone, and I believe senior year. It was actually until my freshman year of college. So I didn't actually have an actual smartphone until then. And you mentioned about we always talk about the young people aspect side of this. According to a report by Influence Central, the average kid gets now in today's world gets their first smartphone by the age of 10.3 and opens their first social media account by the time they're 11 and a half. By the time that they are 12, 50% of kids use at least one social media platform. And I remember back when I was a kid, I'd say freshman year, I had iFunny. I don't even know if you can consider that social media or not, if you have an account or not. But some people might consider that as the case. But I mean, I personally don't think that kids should really have a phone until they're about 11 or 12, and I wouldn't even think they should have a smartphone by that age. I think something a little bit more basic, and then once they get into high school, obviously you can get them maybe a smartphone, and there's negatives and positives to it, in terms of use for phone and social media. I think if you have a smartphone by the time you're in high school, I think it's positive because you can start networking if you have an idea of what you actually want to do in life and kind of get ahead. But at the same time, when you look at the social media side of things, with overuse, it starts to lack emotional connection with people, which can hinder a lot of people's mental mindset, because you might not know what a person's actually thinking. That can kind of possibly screw with you in certain relationships. And also, one other thing is understanding. You don't really have, I don't think, the same understanding and communication with people through there as you would by just talking to them in person, or obviously talking over the phone. And I think there's a lot more people in today's world that prefer texting or stuff like that instead of actually talking to people. And I know I'm guilty of that too. We all are. But overall, I lean more towards saying there probably are more disadvantages, but it comes down to how well parents teach their kids, to use it in moderation, and how kids actually use it themselves.
Agreed. I totally
I
agree
feel like
with
a
that.
lot of parents use their phone as like a distraction
Yeah.
for their children instead of like they're like, oh, just go do that, and then they're like, oh, I have like 30 minutes of them not talking. I can actually do what I want. But then the kid starts getting so dependent on it.
Do you think that's a matter of parents not necessarily putting the time in or caring for their kids, or do you think it's more of a matter of parents just don't know what their kids are actually doing with the phones?
I think it's both because I have a lot of brothers and sisters, and I've seen like sometimes they'll like, oh, just go watch it, whatever, and like they don't even know, and then I'll go see what they're watching, and it's like some YouTuber like cussing and doing crazy stuff, and they're like, oh, it keeps them quiet, and then they just kind of accept it. Like I don't know. I feel like I personally like I know sometimes like I'm sure parents need a break every now and then. They're like, okay, go ahead, watch it. But I feel like they're starting to use that as a way to like I don't know. I just feel like they're using it in the wrong way. I feel like a lot, not all parents, but I think a good handful of them just kind of use it to have time to themselves, and I think it ends up being a bad thing in the end.
Yeah, and also, big issue, with childhood obesity and things like that. When young age of usage of smartphones, it kind of is a detriment for people who want to see more kids, go outside and be able to, experience life. And that's the important thing is, being able to experience,
Yeah.
doing stuff at a young age outside, being able to go new places and everything. And obviously, in certain cases, finances can have an impact on that, but then again, so can getting a phone, which is $1,000. But I think that if kids get out, if you use social media in moderation, but you also at the same time, are getting out in the world a bit more, I think it's fine. But I think that's what it just comes down to, as many things, is moderation. Overuse of cell phones is a drug in and of itself, which is unfortunately very dangerous.
Yeah, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I think in some situations that children being on their phones, I feel like is a form of like neglect from their parents,
Mhm.
or it has the like potential to become that.
Yeah.
Just from my
A
experience.
lot of parents
Yeah.
do too, because I babysit for like a lot of families, and all the families I babysit for, they're great. Like the parents are amazing, and they take very good care of their children. But I've noticed that even like with my mom, because I have two little brothers, they're 8 and 4, and sometimes like they're just so like you do so much to try to keep them, content, and just sometimes like it gets so overwhelming. Like I'm guilty of it too. Like if I'm babysitting my brothers, like sometimes I'll just like turn on the TV or give them the
Right.
phone and be like, okay, like, just to like keep them quiet or to like, at least, give yourself a break, which is what I feel like a lot of parents do nowadays, because I know a lot of adults that they buy their kids like, like iPads and iPods, and after a long day of work, they come home and say hi to the kids, and the kids may be like grumpy or throwing fits, and they'll just, give them the iPad or something just to be like, like to give themselves like a minute to breathe.
Mhm.
But I also find that to be like, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about that, because I do understand that, parents need time for
Yeah, me
themselves
too.
Yeah.
to breathe, but at the same time, um, you know, there does, like you said, moderation, and there does come a time where it's too much. So I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it, like, maybe like once a day, like letting them get like
Same. Yeah.
30 minutes on the iPad or something. But if it becomes a thing where it's like every time you see them, you just want them to be calm all the time, you always let them be on electronics, that's when I think it's a bad thing. And I've seen that sometimes, where like parents will just let their kids be on their electronics all day just so that they can, work in the office or something, or, keep them out of their hair. So,
Right.
yeah,
And
it's
one
very interesting.
And one more thing I'll say on this before, and this will roll into part 3 as well. There's a big issue specifically in the college sports realm side of things, and really in college admissions in general, with certain things that maybe young people will post on their social media that they don't delete, that ends up coming back later on, that might be offensive or comes back to bite them. But in reality, when they were young, they just didn't have any idea, because they're really young when it comes to the social media use and haven't really developed their brain at that point yet. I think there's an issue with that though too, and while I think obviously there needs to be teaching on moderate use, and there also needs to be teaching on how how to use it right without doing obviously stupid stuff, I don't think that people should be judged on that years later when they become different people, and I think that there's a big issue with that as well. I'll get your guys' thoughts on what I just had to say there in the next part of the Liberty Hour. We will be right back with part 3. Hope you guys are enjoying. Stay liked, and stay tuned.